Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I have used these a few times. These are the Dress My Craft Transfer Me sheets and I have a few new ones that I picked up. I have done a few videos using these now and these are really fun, and it means I don't have to do stamping or anything like that, and it's just something a little bit different that I can incorporate into my card making. I will link some of the videos that I have done using Transfer Me sheets down below, but these are the new ones that I'm going to use, well, not necessarily all of them today. I think I used 3 or 4 of these today. So this first one is called Night Background, the next one is called Chrysanthemum Flowers, and I love those big gorgeous burgundy deep red ones. The next ones are called the White Anemone Flowers, and then the last one here, this one actually here is called Soulmates, and I have done a videos, I actually have this one already, and I got another one because that design is just gorgeous. Those roses are stunning. And then this is a Sentiments one as well, and I just thought that this could be kind of fun to try out actually. And then the last one that I have here, this one is called Mini Vintage Butterflies, and there is a whole lot of little butterflies on there that I look forward to using too. Now on the back of all these transfers, because remember that they are kind of mirrored, on the back they have what it will look like when you put them face down. And so I will also say that this image on the back also will be cut out for a card front and would make a really nice background too. But just so I can kind of get myself sorted, first of all I'm going to trim off the excess little white bit around the outside. That's not really usable for this in particular. So I'm going to cut those off, and then I'm going to cut myself this into pretty much into quarters, because I plan to use this, I mean obviously it is a beautiful night background, it's a beautiful galaxy background, and it could be used for anything like that, but I wanted to challenge myself today to use it kind of not as a night background, or not as a night background specifically, and to do something just a little bit different than just popping it down on the page. So I'm going to take off that first protective layer of film, and then I'm actually going to rip this. Now I'm popping this down onto some watercolor paper. This is the Tim Holtz watercolor paper, which is my absolute favorite. I'm ripping one little corner and I'm putting it in the bottom right hand corner, because remember that this is all kind of mirrored, so once I put it down, and then I'm going to do another couple of rips, and then this is kind of just going to create, I don't know, a little bit of texture, a little bit something different in the background, rather than just popping it straight down onto the background as is and kind of being one big block of that night background. Now, as I said, this would be used fabulously for lots of different techniques, lots of different aliens or planets or those sorts of birthdays. If you have those kind of funky little stamps, these would go brilliantly if you were to stamp and color and pop these on top. I mean, so many different things, but I wanted to try and do something that was not directly a kind of galaxy or space themed card. Now I have a little bowl of just plain water here and a sponge, and all I'm doing is just sponging on a little bit of water, and you will see the transfer image kind of appears actually through the background. It's a little bit hard to see with the night sky image that I've used, but if you do flowers and things, you'll see that the image kind of starts to appear, and then all of a sudden they will kind of start slipping, and you know that that's when they are ready to go, because they kind of slide off sideways. And don't try and kind of peel them up. If they don't slide away sideways, then they're probably not quite ready. Now I know that this doesn't perfectly reach all of the edges and things, but I'm going to cut this down just those tiny wee edges bits off, so that's fine. But I have created a really fun background there that I was pretty happy with. Now I cut out a couple of these flowers, and at this point I'm just going to pop them down onto a white background, because these are relatively translucent. They're kind of see-through, so if I pop them down onto a white background, it means that they are going to be completely opaque. And for this technique in particular, that's what I am after. So I just cut out a couple of the white flowers. I have a few of the leaves, and then I also have one of that big gorgeous burgundy flower as well. Now I'm just popping these down onto some watercolor paper and just popping as many as I can in. I tend to cut around the flowers a little bit, but I'm going to cut these later on, but even if I'm not, I cut a little bit of the excess off. It doesn't really bother me. It's not too bad or too noticeable at all if you pop it on with that extra little bit either. Now you can see that the flowers and the leaves, you can kind of start to see through them, and so this is what you're not meant to do. You're not meant to pick and kind of peel. You're meant to wait until they kind of slide off, and then you know that it's ready and you're not going to peel up the image. And then this paper actually is just normal, my normal cardstock that I get from Spotlight here in New Zealand, and this is the Frenchville 300, I think it's 110 pound and maybe 300 GSM. It's a really heavyweight cardstock. I really like it. I use it for my card bases and my card fronts, and it's a really reasonable price. When it's on sale, which it is often, I can get it for $17 for 100 sheets. That's New Zealand dollars as well. Now, I have my Hero Arts Infinity circle dies here, and actually in here, I have this embossable window plastic, the Judikins one. However, I don't want to use the acetate, but these have tissue sheets that kind of separate them, and I am completely out of vellum. I have none at all in my stash. I just didn't order any. So I am going to use these tissue sheets instead, just because they are there, and I thought this might be a little bit different and a little bit fun. I don't want to cover up the background, and that's really important, so I wanted something that was going to be see-through, but I also have this little tag die here, but I really want the kind of decorative side to be on both ends, and at the minute obviously it's only on one end, so I did a little bit of partial die cutting there. You can see I just rolled it through my die cutting machine and then I stopped. And then I'm going to tape this in place so that it lines up those original horizontal cuts. And I'm going to pop this through, but making sure that I don't go over my original cuts. And then you can see it has the decorative end at both ends now, and we have a gorgeous little tag ready to go. Now, as per usual with my card making, I'm going to show you what I first did with this card, and I didn't like it at all, so I'm going to show you. I kept it in here, and I'll show you how I just changed it up a bit, but I did have to pull the card apart. So I have the Heartfelt Sentiments stamp set here from Altenew. This one is a good one because it just has so many different sentiments. It has the whole range of occasions, and that's something I love in a good stamp set, and these ones in particular are in all different fonts, so you can kind of match it for the occasion or whatever you might need. Bigger, smaller, finer, bulkier, bolder, yeah, it just depends. And this card is a little thinking of you card. I'm going to just trim this down a little bit so that it measures 4 by 5¼ inches. I have this circle of tissue paper that we cut out, and I'm actually going to just kind of screw this up into a little ball to give it some gorgeous texture. I could run it through an embossing folder, but I just felt like it probably wouldn't hold particularly well. It's a very, very light tissue paper, but waste not, want not, and I will use the things that I have around me, even if I didn't have my probably first choice, which would have been vellum. And I'm going to arrange these kind of 4 flowers on here, and then some of the leaves as well. Now, pretty much a golden rule that you stick to is putting things in odd numbers. 3 or 5 probably would have worked well here, but I was just going on my merry way and deciding that 4 was going to work. So I just went forward at this point. I put some foam tape up the top and then glue down the bottom so that all of the flowers were kind of a little bit dimensional and a little bit popped up. And at this point, I'm just popping it down onto the tissue paper. It's not onto the background. The tissue paper is just kind of sitting there on top of the background. And I put some double bit of foam tape on this nice big burgundy flower. This is the one that I wanted to pop out the most because that's my favorite, I must admit. And then I popped a little bit of foam tape just on one end of these ones too, and pop those down for a little bit of dimension. Now, I was all kind of looking at this and I thought, I don't love it, but I'm going to keep going forward because where there's a will, there's a way, and I know I can make it work somehow. But I popped in the little bits of greenery, some of those little gorgeous leaves, and that just kind of broke up the image a little bit as well. And it doesn't look so bad now that I'm kind of looking at it now, but I did put a whole lot of the liquid glue on the back, and I guess that tissue paper is honestly not even very visible, and that's okay. It kind of just grounded the image as well. But I knew pretty much as soon as I had it down on the card that I didn't like it. It just wasn't right, and it wasn't what I was thinking of. it didn't look balanced to me, and so I'm going to carefully take some of these apart. I'm not worried about saving the tissue paper. I have more of that, which I can definitely cut out another circle, which I ended up having to do. And this is just really thin, and once I added the liquid glue to it, there was no chance that it was going to survive. But I did want to make sure that I kept all of my flowers, because I've already put the hard work into those ones. So I did peel them apart carefully, and I kind of liked the composition. I liked roughly how it was. It just didn't work with the 4 flowers. So I got another piece of tissue paper. I gave it another little bit of wrinkling and got it all wrinkly. You can see that there's still lots of glue down there on my card, but I will use that again in a minute, and I'm going to choose these 3 flowers that I would like to go instead. So I got rid of one of the really large white ones, and I'm going to reuse some of that foam tape, although the foam has lost its stickiness out now because I had to rip it off the tissue paper. So I'm just adding a little bit of liquid glue on top of the foam, and that will be fine. I did rip one of those images just a tiny little bit, but you can see that the white flower has covered it up just perfectly. I rub it into that big blob of liquid glue there, and then that tissue paper is stuck down really well. Then all of my leaves, which had glue on already, I'm able to just pop in. And then when it comes to popping down the little sentiment, I have this gold thread here, which I have been really enjoying recently. I've had this for quite a long time, and this is the type of thread that is honestly going to last you a lifetime. But I did bundle up a little bit, and then I kind of thought that I liked the look of it behind some of the flowers as well. So luckily at this point I was still able to pull that up because I had used the liquid glue. So I had probably not much longer, but I managed to pull it up. I've got a little bit there, and it's just kind of a little bit of messiness. I kind of wind it around my fingers to get it into a rough circle, and then I kind of just pull out the little threads and pieces a little bit. So a few of them are going to stick out from behind that tissue paper circle that we can see a tiny little bit of poking out from around the sides. As I said, I'm not covering much more of the background than I already would have been using the flowers, but it just gives it a little bit to ground that little bunch of flowers on as well. And then since I had used the gold thread to pop a little bit behind the flowers, I'm also going to thread about 3, I think, pieces through each side of my little sentiment there. And then even though this is not going to, you could probably just pop this right around the card, but honestly I just popped it through both sides. And I have got a little bit of double-sided tape around the back of my card, and then that was where I will just secure that around the back. And I just kind of like the extra little bit of gold. It really lightens up the card. It adds that little bit of kind of sparkle and shimmer. It's quite a sparkly little thread actually. So yeah, then I thought that this panel was pretty much finished. I'm going to pop this down onto a card base using some liquid glue. This is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish, and this is a really strong glue. So I know that those flowers and things are not going to go anywhere once this is all nice and dry. I pop this down onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and that is a card done using the transfers today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave links to all of the products that I've used in today's video down below in the description box in case you are interested in checking them out. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed seeing a video about using these transfers, and I'll see you next time. Bye!